Thank you so much for joining us, Megan Olivi and Brett Okamoto. Brett, I want to talk about this UFC 269 card because it feels like every pay-per-view just continues to have such an impressive lineup. This one is headlined by Oliveira versus Poirier in the title fight that we have all been waiting for at 155 pounds. Initial thoughts in that clash?
It's one of those fights where you hate to see either guy lose, right? And you could say that about a lot of fights in the UFC, but this one in particular, just because it took Charles Oliveira so long, then he almost lost to Michael Chandler in the first round, then he wins it in the second round, and it feels like he's finally getting his due. And then all of a sudden, here comes another guy who it took forever to get his due in Dustin Poirier, and the one thing that he hasn't done so far is win an undisputed championship. You know, he won the interim title. It really meant a lot to him. Even fans are like, why does the interim title mean so much to you? Because he felt like a champion. It's just a very, very long road. But there is unfinished business for Dustin Poirier. He does say that box has not been checked yet to be an undisputed champion. And so he's favored now here to beat Charles Oliveira. But Oliveira has been just on such a run. It's a great fight. It's a great fight between two guys who are just sort of just riding high, riding very, very confident going into it.
Had we talked about this matchup several years ago, we might have been saying, it's grappler versus striker. But now, Charles Oliveira has really shown his hands have been tremendous assets to him, and then Dustin Poirier has this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt that he puts to use in great ways. So when you're looking at their skill sets overall and where they're the most threatening in certain matchups, I mean, does any one thing stand out over the other?
Yeah, I think it's Oliveira striking, like you mentioned. I mean, this guy was looked at as he's a submission ace, and he will. You can't go to the floor with him, but if you can keep him from going to the floor, then you can beat this guy. You can hurt him on the feet. You can finish him on the feet. I mean, we saw that. That's another reason why his title run was almost kind of improbable, because we had said, you hear Justin Gaethje still say it, that like this guy didn't have any heart on the feet. Charles Oliveira has plenty of heart now. I can tell you that. I disagree with Justin Gaethje on that one. Charles Oliveira has shown the heart of a champion, and he's shown the ability to change his skill set. Right now, I think his hands, I can't believe I'm going to say this, are equally as dangerous as his ground game. And it's because he doesn't care. He just goes forward. He throws with reckless abandon. He knows that he doesn't care if you take him down, and he just trusts it. And when you have that level of trust, comes power with it. And we've just seen him hurt guys on the feet. Now the question is, Dustin Poirier is a dog. He's very durable, and he takes advantage of your mistakes. So that kind of all reckless, violent type striking, how will it fare against a very technical boxer in Dustin Poirier?
This is why we watch, right? And I feel like there's so much we could talk about with this matchup, but there are a lot of other fights on that card. But just to keep in mind, I mean, the landscape at 155 is also really interesting in terms of like so many people are already calling for a title shot for a fight that didn't happen yet. So they're like, I don't know who the champion might be, but I want to fight whoever it is. So we'll keep our eyes on 155 pounds, always one of the best divisions, if not the best in the UFC. But the co-main event is also a title fight, and it's with a champ, Amanda Nunes, taking on Julianna Pena. This fight was supposed to happen this summer in Houston, Texas. Unfortunately, Amanda was diagnosed with COVID, so she had to move this into December. This has also been a long time coming for Julianna. She's been calling this since Ronda Rousey was the champion, saying, I want a shot at the belt at 135 pounds. Can she bring it to somebody who oftentimes does not even seem challenged in the octagon?
I mean, the first initial answer is no, right? And that's that. No one can take it to Amanda Nunes because she's Amanda Nunes. She's the lioness. She's the double champ. You just can't do anything against her. So Pena has her work cut out for her, but she's got some things going in her favor. And one of them is, like you said, the confidence. And when you're around Julianna Pena, it's not manufactured. She truly believes she's going to go in there and whoop Amanda Nunes. She really, really does believe that. And she does have the ground game. And if Amanda has done what a champion does. She has made it so that she has no holes. I mean, it used to be that maybe if you got into the second round, third round, potentially even fourth round against Amanda Nunes, her cardio wouldn't hold up. But first off, good luck getting to those later rounds because she finishes you so early. And second, she's shown grappling. She's shown cardio. She's a well-rounded. She's a champ for a reason. So Pena has her work cut out for her, but at least she has a path. Sometimes when you're talking about a very dominant champion, you're just like, I don't even see a path to how this challenger is going to win. I see a path for Pena. She just has to be very, very perfect.
If you're Julianna, is there something freeing about being the challenger with no pressure on you? Does it make it easier than these, this could go either way? I mean, do you feel like less on the shoulders is better here?
I think so, for sure. I mean, you hear that from fighters all the time, and it's not just something that they say. It is nice to go in without a lot of expectations. And, Amanda can say all she wants that she doesn't feel as expectations. And to an extent, I think she's being honest with us. She does seem like she's very joyful, very playful during fight week. She brought her child along the last last time. But you can't just brush that aside. I mean, Amanda, she's fighting for a lot in every single one. So I do think that as far as pressure goes, that maybe Julianna's going to feel it slightly less than Amanda, but it's a title fight, man. There's pressure on both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. But, one thing is for certain, we talked a lot about Julianna here, but Amanda Nunes, one of the greatest fighters of all time that the Octagon has ever seen. Yeah. So always looking forward to her fights. There's a couple of other matchups here that are really interesting. One involves Cody Garbrant moving to a new weight class of 125 pounds, taking on Kai Kara France. Is this one intriguing to you? Is that the guy that Cody should have met at 125 for his first time?
Yeah, I think it's super appropriate. I think the matchup is fun. I think it'll be a good test for Cody right off the bat. I mean, we know that Kai is established in this flyweight division. So yeah, you got to see how Cody does with the weight, and then you got to see what that cut does to him. I mean, obviously we saw TJ Dillashaw try to cut down there, and it completely depleted him. So we'll see what it looks like for Cody, but I'm excited. I think people kind of given up on Cody a little bit just because of some of the knockout losses, and now coming up short against Rob Font. He's still fighting real good competition, man, and those guys that he lost to do hit very hard. So I'm not completely giving up on Cody yet, but this is certainly a big fight for him.
Not necessarily about 269, but in terms of the theme there with Cody going down to 125 for the first time, are you a believer in that being a route to success for people? I mean, what are really your thoughts? We hear it kind of often. Oh, they're going to drop down. They're going to do this. Sometimes we hear them move up for their health, and it ends up working out great. But in terms of moving down specifically, I mean, how do you assess that?
It's based on circumstances, right? I mean, oftentimes you're not changing a weight class and dropping down if you're having a whole lot of success. So, of course, it's guys who are trying to get that fresh change of scenery, trying to get something different. What I like about this one is that Cody has talked about going to 125 for a long time. Yep. It's not as if he's just mirrored in this losing streak and he's like, I got to go down because the only way I can stay relevant or this or that. Cody is always going to be relevant at 135. He's extremely popular. He's going to get those big fights. But he has always talked about, like, hey, I don't cut a whole lot of weight. So I'm going to go to 125 eventually, even if he were still a champion 135. I think he wanted to go down to 125 and be a dual champion. Yep. So you never really know, but I do like the fact that it's not some guy that's just all of a sudden out of nowhere is like, I'm dropping down a weight class. Cody has talked about this for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we will see what happens there. Brett, overall, this is a great card. We see names like Sean O'Malley on it as well. What other name or matchup stands out to you about this UFC 269 card?
Josh Emmett, Dan Ige. Yeah. Love that fight. Love that fight. Love watching Josh Emmett fight. Love watching Ige fight, but Emmett has... I want to see what's the ceiling on this guy. Where does this potential going to take him? I mean, he is a good wrestler. He's athletic. He hits like a truck. He's going to get a very, very, very big test in Dan Ige, who always comes very, very well prepared. So I love that fight. I love the fact that Josh Emmett is back from injury, and we get to see it at the end of the year.
I love that you brought that up because also that's my one to watch. So perfect timing there. I love your pick, Brett. As always, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks so much. Okalivi Show will be back later. See you guys then.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.